The United States is screwed, folks, and it looks like President Biden just let it happen. You see, some analysts are saying that the southern border invasion has already happened. And no, I'm not talking about immigrants who are running away for their lives. I'm talking about military-aged Chinese men who continue to go through the border while our army, our military power here at home, continues to diminish. Today, though, I think they let the cat out of the bag, and the Biden administration has finally confessed as to why this is happening.
A long line of Chinese migrants stopped and processed by Border Patrol. The language barrier drawing the process out. News Nation cameras were there as it happened. Hundreds of migrants setting up shelter, waiting to be processed. Many say they want to get away from the Chinese Communist government and hope to be granted asylum in the U.S. Migrants like Bayan, she is from Vietnam. Her husband dragging a fallen branch to his shelter. He's from China. The couple say they traveled through 7 different countries to get here. Chinese migrants are not subject to the same vigorous vetting that migrants from countries considered special interest are. The reason? Officials tell News Nation, politics. Still, the concern once again is the potential threat from unknowns crossing into the U.S.
Now, I want you guys to play that back. Or if you don't have the time, I'll just go ahead and tell you something that is very, I don't know, how do I call it? Questionable? Something that was really questionable about the people that were lining up. You see, they're saying that they seek asylum, right? Because China is still a communist state. But how many of those in line actually had a wife and kids? I mean, if you're running away, wouldn't you want to take your entire family with you? Okay, let me ask you this. Do any of you guys think that this is just a tad bit fishy that we're seeing military-aged Chinese men without wives, without kids, all trying to cross the border for asylum here in the United States? Comment a quick yes or no on that question. And while you guys are at it, please do help in spreading this message out to more people by smashing the heck out of that like button. I really appreciate that. And consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate that, guys.
Latino migrants crossing the Rio Grande, dividing Mexico from the U.S., is a common sight. But what is less common is Chinese migrants making the same dangerous attempt. This woman says it took her a month to get here. The number of Chinese migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border has increased sharply. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, nearly 10,000 crossed on foot from October to April, compared with just over 2,000 who crossed in fiscal year 2022. This man goes by only his surname, Jin, for fear of retaliation against his family in China. Back home, he worked construction and struggled financially.
It's really hard to survive in China.
He traveled for 42 days through South America to the U.S.
This trip is really tough. Everyone's feet got lots of blisters, emotionally and physically. It's all very, very tiring.
Many Chinese migrants take similar routes, flying from China to Turkey and then to Ecuador because of its relatively loose visa policy. From there, they travel by foot and bus through South and Central America to the U.S.-Mexico border, some paying a guide or asking for directions along the way. Some of these migrants say they heard about the South American route through postings on Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok, where those who have made the journey describe what to bring, where to meet a bus, and where to find bathrooms and food. This man, who chooses to use only the name Wang because his parents are still in China, explains why he left his homeland.
I don't have any hope for the future of China. I feel like it's going to get worse, going back to the time of the Cultural Revolution.
Professionally, what I did in China is not valid in the US. I'll need to find low-level jobs. Work that Americans don't want to do, we'll go do. I'm already mentally prepared.
So getting back on topic here, one could easily assess, and this is just based solely on the number of these individuals coming across through the borders, but one could assess that this is like an invasion, right? I mean, millions are coming in. And I know that some states aren't necessarily happy with what's happening. The difference, though, with the Chinese nationals that are flooding in is that it looks like the Biden administration and Democrats have a master plan in place. Now, I'm not going to go on and put words in their mouths here. That's not what I'm going to do. We're going to hear straight from them. You know, before I even play this footage, I really want to say that I wish this was like an AI generated video, or, you know, that it happened or that it was fake. But no, this actually happened. It's a little bit long, but I urge you to listen to each and every single word.
Virtually everyone in this country is only a generation or two removed from being an immigrant to this country. And yet, there's been resistance throughout our history, unless we needed cheap labor to build the Transcontinental Railroad when we invited Chinese workers to come in. We treated them, unfortunately, in an inhumane fashion and didn't give them largely eligibility to become citizens. But we needed the labor, we needed the workers. It's happened many times before. What troubles me about the debate now about the southern border is it is one half of the immigration equation. Yes, we need order at the border. Yes, we need to have changes in the laws that reflect the reality of the overwhelming numbers from all over the world who are coming to our shores and our border. But there is also an incredible demand for legal immigration into this country even now. The presiding officer, my colleague from the state of Illinois, has legislation which addresses one aspect of that. Her bill, and I hope I describe it accurately, says that if you're an undocumented person in this country and you can pass the physical and the required test, background test, the like, you can serve in our military, and if you do it honorably, we will make you citizens of the United States. Do we need that? Do you know what the recruiting numbers are at the Army and the Navy and the Air Force? They can't reach their quotas each month. They can't find enough people to join our military forces. And there are those who are undocumented who want the chance to serve and risk their lives for this country. Should we give them the chance? I think we should. And let me tell you about others that we need. In my state of Illinois, in inner city in Chicago, in the rural areas downstate, we're holding our breath, hoping that we can keep hospitals open. You know why? We don't have enough medical personnel. And yet there are people all around this world who have medical credentials as doctors and nurses and skilled technicians who want to come to the United States, but we don't give them the chance. I think it's a reasonable thing to do. I think it would make us a better nation and a healthier nation. Keep those hospitals open, and they're desperate to find new personnel.
Man, oh man, where do I begin? You see how he slipped in the Chinese workers in that entire statement, kind of alluding to the fact that they probably knew that a lot of them were coming in? Like, it would be weird if they weren't aware, right? Now, don't get me wrong though. There are people who went through legal immigration, and those folks were patriots, but they went through the right process, the right doors and the gates to get to the United States. They paid their dues to be called an American citizen. But how do you think that those people would feel if undocumented Chinese men are suddenly enlisted to the army and then given citizen just like that? And wait, this just came to mind. How are these guys from China even getting here? It's not like they can just kind of like walk over from China to the borders, you know? There's some water that they have to get through to get here. Did they just like catch a plane ride somewhere? A train? Maybe a boat? Unless a train can go underwater. It's amazing to think how many of them have access to these modes of transportation, right? Now here's the deal, and this is conspiracy theory talk, so take it with a grain of salt. Some are suggesting that these undocumented people will be given the right to vote. Rumors are saying that it could come very soon, but again, those are just rumors. Another is that this is just one step in their preparation for war, but it's not to wage war against foreign nations who threaten our freedom. It's to wage war against us, the people of the United States of America. Now, I know it's a little bit far-fetched, but think of it like a twist on the Trojan horse. But hey, maybe those theories are all wrong and our military will actually be greatly aided by these people. Who knows? Make sure you guys share your thoughts on this down in the comment section down below. And before I go, I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate your time. Thanks for liking the video, and I'll see you on the next one.